welcome back once again to the Imaginary Gallery. It is TJ, your host. As promised, we are about to cover an important subject for those of you who are involved with abusive toxic creatures. The next section of Lundy Bancroft's wonderful book, Why Does He Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men. What an abusive person does if you are leaving him or her. This is a tough one. This is one many of us have experienced. Without further ado, let's go. Breaking up with an abusive person can be very, very difficult to do. In fact, leaving a non-abusive partner is generally easier, contrary to what many people may believe. Few abusive people readily allow themselves to be left. When they feel a partner is starting to get stronger, or starting to think for him or herself more, slipping out from underneath their claws of domination, the abusive people move to their end game. Some of the more common maneuvers include promises of change. I'll change, I promise. Entering therapy and or an abuser program, agreeing not to drink or use certain substances, attending AA, making apologies, telling you that you will be nothing without him or her, that one, telling you that no one else will ever want to be with you, threatening suicide, saying that you are abandoning him or her, and this attempts to press your guilt button, threatening to kidnap or gain custody of your children, threatening to leave you homeless or with zero financial resources, all of a sudden becoming very nice, fake, getting other people to pressure you into giving it another chance, taking care of things that you have been complaining about for such a long time. Like if you've been upset about a hazardous situation in your home, or if you've been looking for a job and he or she didn't want you to, it will start saying, oh, let's help you with this, and making agreements for things that maybe you had problems over before, such as going out with your friends. Oh, it's okay, you can go out with your friends now. Things like that. Behaving in self-destructive ways so that you will worry about this creature or feel sorry for it with the pity plays, such as, I haven't eaten any food in 6 weeks, or drinking liquor heavily, missing out on work, or never talking to any of its friends, spreading rumors about you, trying to ruin any of your friendships and your reputation, starting a new relationship or an affair just to make you jealous or angry, insisting that he or she has already changed, spreading confidential information about you designed to smear or humiliate you, threatening or assaulting anybody you try to start a new relationship with, or anybody who may be helping you in your situation, stalking you, physically or sexually assaulting you, trashing your car, messing up your house, threatening to harm you, or to even kill you. Bancroft tells us that each abusive person uses a different mixture of the above tactics, and some let go somewhat more easily than others. Strategies of control that appear contradictory may go hand in hand. For example, he might insist adamantly one day, you should be able to see that I've changed, and then call the next night and say,
if you don't give this relationship a chance, you're going to find out what I'm really capable of.
One day on the phone he may tell you his love for you will never die, but when this poetic language doesn't succeed in persuading you to meet him out that night for a drink, he will switch to screaming, I don't care about you anymore. Who cares? Just let your life continue down the stinking hole it's in. He or she doesn't care that these pieces don't fit together because he or she is intently focused on a single desire, to get you back under its control. And I've noticed this too in real life, where you can just examine the text messages, how they'll be real sweet and lovey-dovey first, and I read it and think I'm not responding to that. And then the next one is hateful. I don't care about you anyway, blank you. And then the next one, I didn't mean that. I'm sorry. Let's get together. And it's sick because it doesn't represent a real person. It's a creature who's trying to achieve a specific agenda, and it will say or do anything it thinks it needs to make that happen. Now, this creature knows that it used to be able to control you with charm, promises, and affection. It also remembers how well intimidation or aggression worked at other times. Now, both of these tools are losing their effectiveness, so it tries to increase the voltages. It may switch erratically back and forth between the two, like I just mentioned, like a doctor who cycles a patient through a range of antibiotics, trying to find the one that will get the infection under control. And the analogy is an apt one, because an abusive person sees the ex-partner's growing strength and independence as a sickness rather than as the harbinger of health that it actually is. Promises that an abusive person makes during this period can be persuasive, especially if they're combined with sincere-sounding apologies, or if it takes some concrete initiatives such as quitting drinking liquor, locating a therapist, or actually joining an abusive program. However, once it succeeds in getting you to reunite, it gradually plows its way back into the usual ruts, dropping counseling because, oh, I can't afford that anymore, saying it'll go back to a little drinking because he or she can handle it, and so on. Before long, daily life is right back to the way it was before. Bancroft's clients make flip-flopping statements during breakups about who's responsible for the dissolution of relationships, bouncing between blaming everything on themselves and casting all fault onto the partner. Making it her fault is closer to the real thinking. The blaming of themselves is largely a way to pity play you, gain sympathy, including abuse counselors who can get drawn in by a theatrical show of pained guilt. And in an ironic twist, the more he or she says that the separation is its own fault, the more friends and relatives are tempted to pressure the abused partner to believe that this person will change. When one of Bancroft's clients takes this mea culpa stance, he asks him to describe in detail how exactly his behavior drove the partner away. 8 times out of 10, the person will give him only 1 or 2 or 3 examples, or none. In other words, he doesn't really believe that he's abusive and may request for extensive specifics. And Bancroft's request for extensive specifics smokes him out. If he does manage to list a few things he did wrong, they are many times far afield from the core of the destruction it creates, as in comments like, "I should have made her a higher priority. We didn't do enough together." Or they are actually backhanded remarks to get more digs against her, such as, "I used to walk away from her because of how crazy she was with her rages she goes into. I should have realized that my leaving just made her that much worse." The volatile, abusive, and sometimes dangerous reactions that abusive people can have when relationships come to a close have often been considered, especially by psychologists, to be evidence of the person's fear of abandonment. But ladies have fears of abandonment that are just as great as men's, yet they rarely stalk or kill their partners after a breakup. Not only that, but many abusive people are vicious to the ex-partners, even when they do not desire a reunion or when they initiated the breakup themselves. The clue to how an abusive person handles separation lies in the same thinking that has been causing its controlling and abusive behavior throughout the relationship, and that has driven the partner away from him or her.
I am the Narcopath, and I know that you dream about my private part.
And you know I'm all about revenge. And I know some of you all think it's rational revenge, but I don't. For example, you asked me, how could I come into your life and scam you and pretend to be somebody else just to get close to you, and then you find out the truth little by little? Well, honey, I'm entitled to do that. You weren't, though. If you did anything phony, I was going to call you out on that. But every time you tried to call me out on my phoniness, I just told you that you're wrong. That's the way it works with the Narcopath. I'm free to pretend to be who I want. And if you dare to check up on me and find out what I really am, and you do something to retaliate against me, well, honey, I'm going to get you back 10 times worse. Never mind that I started the scam to begin with. That doesn't matter. Which you empathetic people seem to think that that's some kind of problem. Well, honey, I'm entitled. You ain't. Simple as that. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. You can't. Got it? Got it? Good.
Also, in your letter, you'd mentioned about my lies. You called me a liar, basically. And I remember all the times I argued with you and said I am not a liar.
Even though obviously I was. But I couldn't admit to it. I think I told you once before, but I'll refresh your memory. As far as me and the truth goes, honey, I see absolutely no reason to tell the truth unless it gets me what I want. That's my key. I know you were confused because sometimes I'd be telling the truth, but other times I'd be lying. You couldn't figure out or decode how to tell the difference. The simple fact is, like I said, if the truth gets me what I want, well, I'm gonna give it. But if it doesn't give me what I want, it's gonna be altered into a lie. For example, when we first moved in together, and you were so tired and I asked, let's go out to the pub for a beer, and you didn't want to. I was hot to trot, and you hadn't put out in a while. Well, I went ahead and went on my own. You passed out. Well, you were tired, but not tired enough. So I had to slip a little something in your drink, and finally you were out cold. And I went on down to the pub. Well, I was in there with a short skirt, no panties, my Virginia showing when I bent over, and I dropped things repeatedly. Did the bend and snap with the pins I dropped. I showed my teeth. I jiggled my tail feather, but it just didn't connect to anyone. Nobody fit. Nobody took the bait. So I had a beer or two, and then I came on home. And within a few hours, you'd woken up and said, where'd you go? And I told you I went down to the pub. And your first thing was, oh, who did you pick up? Oh, you had sex, didn't you? I thought, you are a dirty-minded fool. You're projecting. You must be doing that. Even though you'd never gone. In this case, the truth sufficed. Because nothing bad happened. So what did I do? I told you the exact truth. I walked in. Of course, I left out the fact that I showed my teeth off. That's none of your business. I walked around, had a drink, had a second drink, looked at the jukebox, and then I went home. True story. Well, the second time I pulled this trick, put a pill in your drink, made you pass out. This time I used double, so I needed more time. This time I ran into a hot motorcycle guy, and he was aching to take me out on his bike, and we did it on the leather seat of his motorcycle. Well, I could never tell you that. So when I came home, this time you asked, what did I do? Did I do this? Did I do that? Were you with another man? You asked. I said, no, I was not. And I told basically a variation of the first story. I went in, I had 2 beers, and then I left. Now, of course, you wondered why it was so many hours later. Well, I had to throw in something else. Well, I wanted to stop by the church and pay my respects, and I kind of dozed off in the pew. Don't tell the minister. I'm brilliant. So, there you go. That's why when the truth helps me, you hear it. When the truth doesn't help me, you ain't gonna hear it. You're gonna hear a lie. That's the way I do business.
I am the Narcopath, and you